Welcome, everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And this one is definitely interesting so far. It's our first episode of the year. This is our 8th year of doing the How I Met Your Mortgage podcast. It's amazing that we've done it that long, and we probably do at least 40 probably at least 40, 45 episodes a year. And that number is just staggering. And big thank you to everyone who's been on the show in the past or who has helped promote the show or organize the show. Thank you to our my assistant Jules and to Jen Waybor and on and on. There's a long list of people that deserve a pat on the back for taking the How I Met Your Mortgage podcast as far as it has gone. Now, today we were supposed to open up with a repeat guest that has been on the show, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times. And unfortunately, he has not surfaced here. So looks like he might in a moment. At least I would hope that that'll be the case. In any case, this is, how do I describe this for the beginning of our 8th year? It does look like he's trying to get on with us here. So everybody sit tight and we will have our expected guest on board with us. At least I would hope that that'll be the case here soon. But a little bit of a refresher. And we'll get into the Wayback Machine here. Just the Tips Coaching focuses on lead gen, client retention, team structure, and all kinds of things that fit underneath those headings for people that have a direct-to-consumer gig for large ticket items. So I'm a mortgage originator, have been for, I don't know, a quarter of a century now. Real estate agents, obviously a very similar MO there. Insurance agents, financial planners. We do work with a couple of car sales guys and a few other people that are on the fringes, divorce attorneys, those sorts of things. And just so you guys are aware of how this actually all started, decades ago, I was led to believe that in order to be a good loan originator, you had to have real estate agents in your pocket. Now, that kind of bothered me then, as it does now, that I really never want anybody to be reliant on somebody else doing their lead gen work impacting your business. To me, that's just a significant issue. I really don't like that hiccup, as it were. But nonetheless, here in Colorado, we do title companies. I know a lot of states do title attorneys, but the way to make that happen, to have real estate agents in your pocket so that you can be a successful loan originator, was to set up classes at these title companies and teach real estate agents different things. Okay, let's go see what kind of content is being taught. So I signed up for a class and ended up watching a loan originator teach real estate agents how to read appraisals. And I was boggled by that. Absolutely melted my brain. I'm like, well, that's not their job. That's your job. And they don't need to know how to do your job. Their job is complicated enough. And okay, it's an anomaly. I'm going to do another one. Then I went and saw a mortgage originator teaching real estate agents about VA loan products. It's like, yeah, again, that's not really their job. That's your job. So I was like, what kind of things would real estate agents really want to see, hear, read, watch? And it was really more contracts. How do we get more contracts? How do we get more closings? How do we do more business? And that was where this all started. And this is before the inception of social media or video or distribution within. And I started teaching real estate agents how to handle contact management, calendar management, really contact database. And I think the original class was called Contact Management for Repeat and Referral Business, something to that effect. And it went off like gangbusters. It was really, really popular. We had a really great following, a lot of people attending those classes. And then I started getting a lot of blowback from the mortgage community, the mortgage originator community, about why I'm not teaching loan originators this stuff. And that was really how it all broke down and fell apart. And that was the inception of really Just the Tips Coaching, and the book published under the same name, for those of you that haven't read it, and the blog and the video cast and the podcast and the vlog and on, all kinds of great content. All right. So now that you guys have enough of a background, and hi, Emily, thanks for chiming in. We're doing good. I'm going to bring our guest in. He's just a little late to the party, but we'll let that slide anyway. So welcome back to the show for either his fifth or maybe even sixth appearance, Christopher Griffith. What is up, Chris?
Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm late. First of all, thanks for having me on, and thanks for having me on late, man. Sorry to be disrespectful. Not intended.
Nah, your beard got in the way. I get it.
I was on an investor call actually, with some of the stuff that we're doing with Realpha. So got asked a question, had to give them a full answer, and then in that process lost track of time of a hard stop, which I'd already told them all about. So story of my life. Yeah, if Siri could actually be useful in my life, like in my ear, she's talking to me anyways, like, hey, dummy, you have an appointment, remember? She doesn't do that, though.
She doesn't do that.
No, she only announces the stuff that
hey,
I don't
Apple, I hope you're listening.
Yeah.
Chris needs a little help. So, Chris, this is, I can't remember when we had you on the show last. It tends to be about once every 12 months, give or take. That's usually where our booking falls out. And a year is a big time frame, not only in life and in business, but you have your hands in a lot of pies. So a lot of things change for you in that time frame. And I'm guessing that getting caught up on the life of Chris is going to be a fascinating chat here.
As normal, it's a roller coaster, man.
Yeah, well, I just kind of
I wish I knew exactly where we were or what was going on the last time we spoke, so I could kind of do a better pickup job. But I guess kind of like where I am right now with the entire world of what's going on around me as a kind of a general statement. Then if I did that in the last video, maybe I can we can go back, like I mentioned, review, and we can see.
Right. We will absolutely do that for the next episode. I'll go find all of the podcasts that you've been on historically. I do think this is number 6, by the way. I know we were talking about that last week. And then we'll get booked for number 7. And yeah, you'll be able to go back and review all that jazz. And
it'll be wild to say.
I know we talked about cows or beef the last time.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like 5 years, 6 years of doing this, I've said a lot of audacious stuff over those time periods. There's been some wild stuff looking back that happened. And I'm just kind of curious in hindsight how much of that stuff I really saw coming versus what I tell people I saw coming these days. But just so like a state of the affairs now, what's going on? September 9th, Be My Neighbor Mortgage was sold to Realpha, a publicly traded real estate technologies platform. All our leadership and personnel were maintained. We're still growing and scaling the same vision a little bit differently, a lot more tools and abilities to impact the way that we ultimately bring a consumer a mortgage in the marketplace. I'm incredibly excited about that. I know we'll delve into it, but that was pretty cool. So for all those people that, I'm pretty sure if you go back 5 or 6 years, it was a long time discussed thing. Does building a mortgage brokerage create any kind of value for you? Right. It was always from what I heard, no. Right? There was no sellable value outside of weird stuff or here and there. But anyways, at least for that, worked out there. Vetted VA, a lot of fun change going on there. We're growing and scaling from an organizational aspect of how we bring training to both veteran consumers in a marketplace and professionals serving them in that marketplace. At this point, we are finalizing our LAPSAR certification course, which will be, it's lengthy, man. The baseline book that we built was about 356 pages of training. Now all that's being condensed and created into video teachable process journeys. So that's not like you're just getting a textbook, but it's fun. And what we'll have at the end of this is a total catalog of VA training to the tune of, say, north of 50 hours of unique stuff that we've created and generated, and we believe is the best out there, period. If you really want to be trained and being trained well, you're not going to find any VA housing training better than what you're going to find with us. And that's true if you're a real estate agent, a loan officer, processor, an underwriter, an account executive, with the catalog that we are almost finalized with at the moment. Further than that, we've partnered with now in our pursuit. I know, right? We've partnered in our pursuits with a wholesale lending entity. We believe that by impacting the level of training and education within a wholesale lender perfectly, from account executive to account manager to underwriter to loan setup to closer to funder, if you can make them all perfectly educated and create a better VA journey for a consumer, the process might in fact look a little bit different than what they look like today. And so we've set out on that build and journey with a completely separate entity, although it uses the same nomenclature because of the educational side. There's no tie to it. There's no requirement to use or any of that. We actually, VettaVA partners with a lot of different wholesale lenders out there, but we've stood up a partnership with EPM to build out a conduit called Vetted VA TPO. And what that is what I just described, getting a swing at it, right? And so we're working on curating a process, journey, system, and personnel to which we've achieved varying degrees of success so far in our beta and now our kind of alpha testing of it, and are incredibly happy to see what we're going to be able to do to empower wholesale from what we learned there, how we can integrate that back into the education, and then how that then works with the other wholesale partners that we have, with the ultimate desire and understanding of this. I think that the number one leader of VA origination right now has a more than 2x share over second place. And if you look from places 5 through 20, the leader does more than all of those combined. So it's a massive opportunity, and one in which that same leader has a denial rate close to 25% of all applications, which is 2x more than any person behind them of scale. So there's a huge opportunity to get veteran services or veteran mortgages taken care of better. And I think it's going to take more than just one entity to say, not in the retail only space. I don't think that's the let's do everything concept. I don't think works with the VA loan perfectly because of how broad it is. So VettaVA's ultimate goal then is to use what we learn and do, as we always have, to empower the wholesale community and other lenders through their networking and working together to create an overall better, reliable, feature stable for veterans looking for mortgage or housing service needs. So that's been growing and that's fun. The slaughterhouse, Whiskey Creek Processing.
I was going to say, are there still cows? Is there still beef?
Yeah, still cows. So Whiskey Creek cattle going really well. That was the pursuit of, hey, let's buy a cattle ranch and use cattle and other means to see if we can cash flow neutral. Raw land purchase with 0 down, 20-year note, 4.4% rate. We cross collaterals for down payment using fracking that's going on in the area with water cells, pad site destruction stuff, some creative use of charity and some donkeys, cattle, you name it. I can say honestly that, and I've got to go back and actually do a P&L balancing of all of this. But right now I'm confident in saying, if you consider what our debt costs on that land were and our raw money actually needed to invest into that and what we produced out of it, we're very close to a net neutral, or actually a on paper profit from how we've operated that raw land, which has helped us because Whiskey Creek Processing, another layer of business we're building, which is a USDA certified beef processing facility in Madill, Oklahoma, owned by my brother-in-law and his dad and our families collectively. Chance, my brother-in-law, Marine Corps vet, he's the operator of that business. Jay takes care of a lot of the cattle stuff. He has people that supports him, but he's phenomenal. And it's been challenging. Like, this is one of those businesses for us. It was a big cost startup with, something new industry. So it's been a challenging model to perfect. I'll say we're in the latter stages of our bleeding, which hopefully, right. We got some blood, but with that type of model and process, I think in hindsight, I'd never do it again without a more. I think it's important in certain models. You're going to bleed. You have to be prepared to bleed in a lot of different things too. If you're ahead of market, if it's a new market, depending on how you're starting it. So knowing that, we knew it then, we got into it. We have a few different avenues for revenue that we're excited about. One thing that we're working on scaling right now, which is great, is getting our beef snack sticks into retail establishments all over kind of the region that we're in and with larger distributors nationally. So we hear consistently our beef snack sticks are the best that anyone's eaten, and we're working on kind of scaling that line, which will continue to help grow those companies. In addition to that, Westport, I don't know if I'd talked about on one of these other calls. It was a company that Nathan really started and brought me along for the ride, and ultimately created a partnership that founded MLO Force, which is a continuing education and training company that we launched this last year. Had a great first year of it, getting ready. We're actually recording training all now for next year. But basically, it's mortgage continuing education that is really good, easy to consume, easy to get through. It's $149 for all you can eat. So your federal and any and all states that you need. Or there's kind of an a la carte thing on state stuff, if you will, as well. So again, our goal of taking a legacy process, creating a product that's as good or better than what's there, and defeating a cost model through technologies, then consumers are able to reach. And so we pushed off on that. My wife's restaurant, Stafford House Provisions, man. Good Lord. I know it started as a wine bar. It's a full service restaurant now. They're phenomenal. They've created an atmosphere in a rapidly, I would say it's still in what would be referred to as an emergent market, not a hot market, but it's in the late stage of emergence where it's going to become a hot market, meaning everybody knows. A lot of people know now more though than they did 5 years ago. If you go back to our videos, I know you'll hear me ramble about this at some point, but they've created a really unique high-end atmosphere that's typically only available if you go to like the Dallas market or maybe a couple of other places, and just food that's phenomenal. She's scaling that. It's her mom, and her sister, but my wife's the operator of it. It's been incredible to see her start her own entrepreneurial journey after being a part of ours, right? And that's going really well. VenDRE, that's a company that, use debt as a strategy completely, purchasing VAREOs with, I would say we achieved on our acquisitions less than an 8.5% cash need from acquisition to rental, right? So from acquisition cost to rehab to economic vacancy, right? Less than 8.5% of cash was needed of the acquisition cost with the model that we use. And so quickly got profitable, has over doubled in value as a book. We still own the stuff for the apartment complex. We're still doing some different things with lease option stuff. There's another company I'm forgetting right now. And
I can't imagine why.
I'm leaving one of the kids out.
Oh, gosh, that's no bueno. Chris, you can take a breath. It's all right, man. I think we've pretty much absorbed the fact that you have quit sleeping and eating for the time being.
I can breathe when I die.
Hopefully you got time to bathe.
Twice last year.
Twice last year? Already twice this year? It's only the 6th. Oh, you're way ahead of schedule. A few nods to some viewers. Emily, good morning. John, I know John Adams in Florida definitely wants us to delve into the creative use of donkeys, whatever that meant, but that sounds like
so there's this organization out there that's crazy. It's a charity. They round up wild donkeys off federal and state lands, and then the charity will basically pay you 50 cents a head a day to let them donkeys run on your property and graze down your grass. And so we put them in parts of the property that were less desirable for the cattle that we were running. They've done a great job, and we make roughly an extra 2.5 payments a year from having them on our property, along with a payment and a half from dividend. And then water sales, we just sold water to frackers out of a pond that a 10-acre lake we built from the last time they were on us 2 years ago. And we sold $140,000 worth of water that was just sitting in our 10-acre lake.
Wow.
So that was over a year's worth of debt. And we've done that a few times. So yeah, the donkeys was a unique one. Yeah. But there's a charity out there that'll pay you to let donkeys live and die in your place.
That is a creative use of donkeys. I'm sure not what John had in mind, but absolutely. And D-Hart, good morning to you too, brother. Joke. And that is fascinating. So there are so many things that you covered on there, and obviously a lot of them are going to be applicable to our audience. I'm not sure the creative use of donkeys is, but certainly EPM. That's a big one. And I know that they've got good stuff coming this year. And obviously, Fraser chats about that quite a bit and has on our show. And we certainly follow Eddie and see what he's up to and what they are doing. And yeah, we've had such great experience with them, both as a wholesale brokerage and as a conference attendee. On and on. Yeah, great stuff out of EPM. Love what they're doing. I'm guessing the acquisition of Be My Neighbor is what was in tune with what I was seeing you being in Manhattan, because you want to talk about a fish out of water.
Yeah, it was my first time to New York.
You were actually in Lower Manhattan on Wall Street.
In a suit at one point. Well,
wow.
Mostly a suit. I mean, I had a T-shirt on underneath it like I do in teenies on because comfort matters. But, I was dressed for it. But, yeah, we got to go out there in Times Square on the front of the NASDAQ building, like the big billboard. There goes the Be My Neighbor logo. Kind of a cool experience, knowing the whole journey. As an entrepreneur, I think it's really neat when you get to learn new things. I don't have a degree. I went to the Marine Corps. I like solving problems. I think about things uniquely. But to take a company from a startup of where I was at in 2018 with about 15 grand, I started what was That Does Deals with a couple of people that were tremendous in supporting me then. Monica Schaefer, shout out, Danielle Burgess, you're out there too. And then Amy Walker, you've been there, and a few others at that moment. But to go from there to September 9th, 2023, to where we've built, founded, scaled, transitioned, and then stabilized to a pretty cool place, something that was attractive to a publicly traded company, sold it, maintained a position of leading it, and more importantly, being directly tied to an overall helping lead the larger mission. As an entrepreneur, how you get money to do things matters. Some things don't require a lot, and some things require a lot. The public concept of funding is unique, and it's why you see a lot of companies pursue it in different ways. But where do you go if you're a young CEO from Pottsboro, Texas, that wants to have a beard all the way around his face year round, wears T-shirts and hats, not ever work on his resume, not want to walk around in a tie ever? Actually, he's not ever going to put a tie on. Like, where does that guy go to get an education on how to take a company public, or how to work, with my background? So for me and kind of the journey as an entrepreneur, it's been incredible to get to understand and look at and work around different things, while at the same time maintaining control and direction of what we're doing here at Be My Neighbor. So a great partnership with Realpha, and one where I'm just most excited about all of the things that we're learning and changing and integrating now, because it's not just us, right? Like anyone that's grown a team out there, this inherently. The faster that you can grow your team with good people, the faster you're going to succeed. That statement's true. How you pay for them, how you make it sustainable, all of that, whatever. But the faster you can add good people to the company, the faster you're going to grow. Is it absolutely, I don't think in any way you can prove that statement wrong. So through that process, we came into a good group of people, with a big tech company and AI chatbot that works in 270 languages, and a title company and real estate and all of these other things, to where now how we solve problems can be a little bit more eclectic, which everyone knows. I love the E word.
And I think a lot of what we're talking about here, and don't get me wrong, I know that this is very different the way you see it, the way I see it, the way that, well, a good number, but small percentage of people that have kind of circumnavigated these businesses, these industries have done, unfortunately. But I really believe in my heart of hearts that you guys are kind of seeing next year all the time. That there's just a little bit, and it doesn't have to be excessive for all of you that listen or watch live or in syndication. Having a little bit of foresight, a little bit of future prediction. It doesn't have to be excessive. Chris isn't predicting what's going to go on in the year 2075 when it comes to mortgages and real estate. He's just a step ahead of what we're going to see in 2026. So, and being able to do that is right or wrong, right? We see, we commit, we pull the trigger, we venture forward. Sometimes we're not right, But to be able to do that, I think is part of where you've kind of been able to stay a little bit ahead of this game all the time.
So first of all, thank you. That's an honor. It's something that I want, hope, believe at times kind of to be true. It's also something that
Chris, it's true. Whether or not you're right is another issue. But when
Dr.
you're wrong,
Strange in that episode, or no, it's not Dr. Strange. It's the crazy kid in the Men in Black, like whichever one it was, when he's like, unless, of course, this is the possible scenario where X happens, and then X happens. He's like, oh, thank God, or whatever, right?
It's
like
this future.
It's not necessarily that I perfectly know, like no one can perfectly know. First of all, it's a future. It's not that. It's like I can see so many things that I think are most likely. And I'm not doing one thing to get there. It's like I'm stacking options forward based off of those predetermined like thoughts of what it could be, and ensuring those options can be flexible and pivoting depending on which occur. Because one, it respects one inherent fact. It will be different a year from today. Here's the problem with most of y'all, with me, every day that I fight.
We think
what makes me think it's going to be the same next year? If you think that, you're losing. So if you're not preparing for change, you're already behind the ball, period. And most people that I run into aren't. They think status quo is status quo. And that's how it stays until the iPhone comes out. No, it's not one thing or one little thing that occurs that's a catalyst to change instantly very often. It's small things, right? So the part that really hit home that led my decision on the integration with AI technology and a lot of other things. If you look at the companies that have been the most successful, it's those that have had the best integration with technologies, legacy systems, and processes. And it was a knowing at my scale and size that if I wanted to guarantee a future for all of those that trusted and followed me at Be My Neighbor, that I had to be able to get there. And if I couldn't, feel bad for those people trusting me because, like, I don't know, I see a problem that I ain't figured out a solution yet, right? So this was a way to do it from our scale and place where we were, because the thing I couldn't get past was the 3-year waterfall, like just around the river bend. Like if you're not incorporating AI and technology-based integration systems and solutions and thinking through changing how those work and integrate today, right now, at the pace that all of this is changing, personally, felt like I was on a river in a canoe that had a good pace. I couldn't paddle upstream in, and it was nice now, but just around there, it was, I don't know.
No, no. I think that's actually really big, and I know we're going to be a little short on time, but I think that's absolutely brilliant. But let's take that down into a bite-sized chunk for the majority of our audience here: loan originators, real estate agents, insurance agents, financial planners, people that have that direct-to-consumer sales gig for a large ticket item. What do they need to be looking at? What do they need to be focusing on? How do we take that piece of being a step ahead and bring it into reality for their world?
Yeah, I think that you have to look at all of the things not only you do, but your team members do, other organizations that have successfully been doing for a while. You have to look at all of those tasks, jobs, functionalities, all of those work effort, labor hours, and consider what of those labor hours are vulnerable to a new type of employee that works 24/7, can reference anything that's been cited and written, and can, with a large degree of success, help solve rudimentary or base level problems today already to empower people that follow on in the process. So look at things that are most vulnerable that you're doing or that people are doing, that systems, tech, process can do, and how you can integrate those to save time, not to have any thought construct to getting rid of human need, but more importantly, to empower each of the humans that you have and make them X number, a factor, more effective. I think that's what you have to be doing today if you want to be around in 3 or 5 years. Outside of that, will there be the niche people still kind of sitting around in weird pockets of doing? Maybe, but it's not going to be 2020.
No, it is not going to be not ever again.
You have to recognize where each of us are vulnerable from the bottom to the top. As a CEO, I recognize that. and not from an own self-preservation perspective, but more importantly, as a CEO, I believe I have one job. A lot of people may get hurt by this, but my one job is to provide for the future opportunity and prospects of all of my employees. My job as a CEO of Be My Neighbor isn't to institute the best mortgage product available. I have people on my team that's their job. Sure. Right? My job is different. That's the way I've always seen it. That's the way I personally carry it. And if you're not doing that today and you're a leader, I don't know. Maybe you feel, maybe you see it differently. I didn't.
I don't think leaders see it differently. I think that's a fairly solid definition of leadership. But I think it's important for all of you that aren't necessarily in that role. Maybe you're not a CEO yet, although a lot of you in those industries that I just described kind of need to have a mindset of one. You need to understand that it is your business that is going on the exact same way that Chris views his business. Now, are you not at a point yet where you got a bunch of people in ops, you got a bunch of people in sales, so on and so forth? Great. You need to get there. We work on that, obviously, at Just the Tips. We've talked a lot about how our team structure works and how to build a business that you can eventually walk away from while it still pays you. And when we're working with our clients on AI tech type of stuff, and we have a few modules on it, I think one of the things that you guys have really got to understand is that, yeah, you do have to adopt. You do have to implement. If you are not seeing that change is going to occur no matter what the fuck you do, then you need to understand that we're not talking about AI taking your job. We're not talking about tech taking your job. We're talking about people using these things taking your job.
So many of us focus on outcomes. We're outcome oriented, and that's how we determine whether or not we were successful with our plan or what we did. And it's a falsehood. It's wrong. You can't control it. There's so many things that are going to happen between the input and the output that you can't control. Man, I think the better you get at anything, and this is true in my cattle business, it's true in the mortgage business and the training. If you can focus on the inputs that are critical and ensure that where you have inputs that require cost, whether it's time cost, money cost, labor cost, figure out how to control inputs, reduce inputs required for outputs without costing scale. There's where the magic is. I saw another quote said the magic's in the work that you're avoiding. The magic you're looking for in businesses is in the work you're avoiding, right? The people in cattle right now that are successful are controlling the inputs they're using, whether it's feed inputs or whatever else, right? Hey, like most of the time it's feed inputs, but it's time input outside of that with running different animal streams. It's the same in everything. Control your inputs, your activities, your calls, your relationship approaches, the inputs that you're putting into developing your technology to fixing this process, the proactive work that you can do, none of the stuff that's reactive. The proactive stuff is where it's at, right? And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of us, by focusing on outputs or having to focus on outputs or whatever those things are, we get distracted and then we are not focused on the one place that creates the most likely change and impact that we want and we're trying to see.
Right. I love it. Chris, let's get booked for another episode because there are some things I want to talk about that we weren't able to cover today. And a lot of it, I think, is going to circumnavigate what we're going to see out of your new merger. I think a lot of it we'll see EPM generate this year and a lot of other companies that are on the peripheral that circumnavigate what goes on in our industry.
There are a lot of great companies out there that are growing right now.
Absolutely.
A lot of good wholesale vendors.
Well, we're talking about the ones that are adopting and implementing.
Yeah.
So,
I like
if
a
you
lot
guys
of
heard
them.
nothing
AFR,
else,
those guys too. Oval,
example.
some of the stuff they're doing. There's a lot of companies out there that they're getting it. They want to do it. They're excited to be here. They want to be here. They're not having to be. They're choosing to be. They see something that they're running to. They're not afraid of something that they're running from. And those are the people that excite me. They're the people I'm going to surround myself. If you're one of those people and you want to I'm available more often than once a year. If you're out there and you want to chat, hit me up. 903-815-7537. I've had the same number since I was 15. Shoot me a text. I'll make time. We can chat what your goals are. If I got any ideas to help you, I'll help you. It's fun. surround yourself with people that'll make that statement and answer that phone call, because if you can find all of those people, you'll get where you want to go. It's just a matter of time. Don't quit.
Oh, that's really well said. And especially for all of you that are still out there doing this. I've been doing this a very long time, so I've seen a lot of ups and downs, and 23, 24, definitely challenging. No denying it. That's probably the understatement of 24. Yeah. And if you're still here, keep fucking going. You have pushed through so much. Just push a little bit more. Cool stuff. Thank you, Chris. Obviously, carving out this kind of time on a Monday morning is no easy task for anybody, certainly for you included. But yeah, I'll certainly start stringing together the previous episodes of you having been on the podcast and look at some dates to get you back on, which I do think will be number 7. Jen would have a better grip on it than I would, but I think you've now done this podcast 6 times in our 8 years.
So do you have I'm sure you have a couple of 8 for 8ers.
Nope, I don't think so. I think 5 or 6 is going to be the tippy top of that pyramid. No question. And
what a cool opportunity for a coach, like just the tips, what you're talking about, to highlight, more importantly for you, like you found me and invited me on here, right? And sure. I'm sure that you thought, like, there's something about this guy that's intriguing, but he's in a weird spot. And then I make these statements from a coaching position, and what you see in your gut and how you identify people and how you point out what you believe makes them successful and get your people to follow. You have the opportunity to go back through those people then and kind of track, right? How cool is that? Absolutely. Like, you're calling the same shots.
Well, and there's a lot to, obviously the methodology for what we've done with the podcast over these years there's a bit of science to it, no question. Obviously, we want to make sure that our audience is getting what they want to see, hear, read, watch. You guys always have to consider that. No matter how you're doing your content, I don't care what that is. If your content is whatever's coming out of your mouth one-on-one at a networking event, or it's the postcards you're putting together for a snail mail campaign, or your text campaign, your voicemail campaign, your video work, whatever it is, your content has got to be audience focused. What do people want to see, hear, read, watch? And yeah, our audience gets a kick out of Chris. No question about it, because all of those things are true. So yeah, we will absolutely do that. And yeah, for the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. We are excited about this continuing to progress. The exposure we're getting is phenomenal.
And for those of you that will just stay in tune and follow up every year just to go, he's still on here, stick around next year. I ain't going nowhere. I'll be back.
Some of them are just watching for the progression of the beard.
Oh, the beard will be here unless someone gives a lot of money to Sox Place, a charity I support. So.
Yep, this is we know historically. If you guys haven't, and you want to go back and check out episodes with Chris, he has shaved that beard.
This is a $200,000 beard, basically. It's like a couple grand shy of it, but this is basically a $200,000 beard. If you put total money raised to include a couple pieings, it's well over $200,000 beard.
To get Chris to shave his beard. Yeah. Very cool stuff. But you guys can catch live episodes of How I Met Your Mortgage on Mondays at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. A mere 48 hours later, the podcast appears on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. So tune in next week. We'll have another. And for all things Just the Tips, go check out justthetipscoaching.com. Chris, love you, brother. Thank you for doing another episode. And I will ping you here shortly about getting another one booked. Don't go too far. I know you're short on time today and that we're already running over. I'm going to run our extra, and then I would love a minute with you.
Absolutely. Certainly. Thanks for having me around as always, Adam, and to everybody, that's on here. I hope y'all have an absolutely awesome 2025, and I hope you take control of the things that you actually can. Blessings, y'all.
And have the wisdom to know the difference. We'll get there. Yeah. All right. See you later, everybody.